Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. Means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Working towards a weekend. I hope that work week's in the rearview mirror. If not, we will get you to the finish line. Alondra Villarreal and Braxton Rizzuto back there on the ones and twos. That's a lot of vowels, a lot of stuff, and I got it all out. I'm very excited that I got that done. That was a daunting task in the show open, but we did it. We got a lot to talk about here for the next 2 hours. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com here in 15 minutes talking Tiger recruiting. We'll go up to Omaha, Nebraska at 1:30. Peter Burns, SEC Network, is there. He's going to be a busy guy. They got 5 teams that he's got to cover here. Only one in action tonight. Ole Miss will play North Carolina in the nightcap this evening, which I am extremely excited for. We'll discuss that as well as tomorrow's games that includes Georgia and Texas. So looking forward to that. The Saints all 2006 through 2025 team, according to Pro Football Focus. We're going to get into that. We'll see if Braxton can nail that. He's a big-time Saints fan. He's been alive for 21 years. We're going after 20 years here. We'll see if we can get that done at 2:15. And I've got some fun memories from the College World Series to go back through an hour and a half from right now to kind of close out our Friday. So I'm fired up to be here. Hope you are as well. And we've got some really good news to get to. Let's start with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
I don't have a television on in front of me, but my assumption, which is rooted in some significant fact, is that the College World Series is going to start literally any second now. First game scheduled for right now, 1 o'clock. They usually start about 4 minutes after that scheduled television time. So within the next 90 seconds or so, the College World Series will begin. LSU is not going to play in the College World Series this year. That's been decided for a couple of weeks now. However, they're making a push to try to get back next year. And one of the biggest dominoes that could fall in that push fell earlier today. If you missed this and are just jumping in the car, just listening to me, have not been paying attention to social media or live at lunch, who covered it at the bottom of their second hour, Steven Milam is going to be back at LSU playing shortstop next year, and that is massively huge news. You know, we've discussed this a little bit over the course of the last 2.5 weeks, and my contention was this. It was always possible that Steven Milam could return to LSU. I didn't find it more than a 50-50 shot, but I certainly left the door plenty open for that. He is a flawed professional prospect in that he is 5'6". And he's never going to not be 5'6". So that's going to limit the ceiling that some MLB organizations put on him. And in this day and age, when you can make money in college sports, it might make sense to cash one more check here where you really like it, as opposed to going to set sail on your professional journey for one check and then nothing to follow it unless you make the show. I was having this discussion actually with my dad on the way into work today. We were chatting, and I was pulling up to a gas station on Nicholson, and we were discussing Steven Milam and whether or not he would stay or go. It was before the announcement had been made. And I told my dad, as I was staring at the gas station, I was parked on the phone about to go in, and I looked at the door, and there was a life-size cutout of Steven Milam sporting some energy drink I've never heard of. And I was like, well, there's some stuff going on here at least. I don't know. Maybe. And that's part of the deal. And I knew for sure that Steven Milam really liked playing for LSU. And I knew for sure that he was a flawed professional prospect. He is today. He will be next July. But still, that opportunity to go chase a dream and play professional baseball is important to a lot of people. And there is money attached to that. And he would have gotten drafted in the first 10 rounds. There would have been a 6-figure signing bonus waiting on him. But LSU can match 6 figures to an extent. And it appears that's happened. And Steven Milam's going to play shortstop for LSU next year. And there's no question about that. Dawson Park played shortstop for Texas State this past year. He's not playing shortstop for LSU this coming year. Steven Milam's a shortstop. He is the best defensive shortstop in college baseball. He was this year. He will be next year. He's the best defensive shortstop I've ever seen at LSU. I've been watching this program every single game since 2006, and it goes back a little bit further than that in terms of keeping up with things. He's the best. And it is a massive piece to LSU, one, defensively in the middle of the field at the most demanding defensive position on the field, where a lot of college teams really struggle. LSU will be the best in the country. And offensively, this is a good player. I forecasted after last season that Steven Milam would have a monster, bad pun, accidental pun, in fact, would have a monster season in 2026 because I'm going, okay, as a freshman, he hit 326 with 8 home runs and came on like crazy at the end of the year. Then he had a bad 2 months to start his sophomore year, but at the end of the season, he was as good a hitter as LSU had in the lineup. And so I'm thinking, okay, it was just a bad 25 games. If you take that out, he's just been a brilliant hitter. And I forecasted him to be a 330 hitter this year with 15 home runs and just be a superstar. And it turns out he just hasn't hit worth a flip in February of any of his 3 years and hasn't hit at all in March in all of his 3 years. But he's been great late in seasons, and he was again. So I'm not going to forecast Steven Milam to hit 365 next year. I'm going to forecast Steven Milam to hit 300 next year because he hit 295 as a sophomore in the national title team. He hit 296 this past year. I think he'll hit 300 again. I think he'll hit 10, 12, 14 home runs again. And that's a really productive piece. And when he gets white hot, like he will at some point next year, put him in the 2 or 3 hole, like Jay Johnson has. When he's scuffling, like he has the last couple of Marches, throw him in the 7 hole. Fine. But he's going to play shortstop every single day. Steven Milam played this season with an injured labrum. He did not take pregame infield for most of the season, and he played through it, and he played tough, and he played hard, and he played great late in the season. This is a transformational piece that LSU adds back to its equation for 2027. And it gives me vibes of a couple of guys in the recent past. It gives me vibes of Jared Poche and Greg Dykman in 2016 into 17. They both had the opportunity to go to the draft. Poche was a junior. Dykman was a draft-eligible sophomore. Both guys spurned professional money when there was no NIL here, wanted to play for LSU. LSU goes to the national final. And then, of course, y'all remember, after 2024, Jared Jones was a draft-eligible sophomore, and he decided to spurn the money and come back to LSU to run a legacy of his own. And Tigers won the national championship behind him. When players with professional opportunities spurn those opportunities and come back to LSU, it's incredibly impactful. And Steven Milam on next year's team is going to be incredibly impactful. I didn't know how Dawson Park would play at shortstop for LSU next year. I'm confident he has the tools to do it. He's dynamic. He's athletic. He's got great range. His arm is huge. Yes. Is he going to make every routine play? That remains to be seen. Steven Milam, and I wrote this in my story at LouisianaSports.net, has been utterly remarkable defensively. One, with the spectacular plays that he makes. And two, with his ability to make the routine plays as well. Steven Milam, over the last 126 games, has had 448 chances at shortstop. 448. He's made 9 errors. 9 errors, 448 chances at the position. Unbelievable stuff. Hat tip to the guys over at Go 24/7. Zach Nagy with the news first. LouisianaSports.net. We did confirm it with LSU. That news is massive for LSU. Now, let me get to the Cade Curlin side of this, because Cade Curlin did commit to LSU last night. I was fully prepared to come on here and give you what I know about Cade Curlin's future. And bear with me here. I checked with LSU and I checked with Florida last night to see what the likelihood was that Cade Curlin was going to play a 5th year of college baseball. Keep in mind, Cade Curlin was a freshman All-American who hit 17 home runs for Florida in 2023 when Florida and LSU played for the national championship. When you are a freshman All-American at Florida in the national final with 17 home runs, you do not play 5 years of college baseball. That stuff doesn't happen. And Curlin played as a freshman, was a superstar, had a down year as a sophomore, got hurt, had a shoulder injury as a junior, redshirted after 14 games, then came back and played this past year and was just okay offensively. He had some slug numbers, didn't necessarily hit for a great average, was okay. But at this point, he's an older player, time to start your professional clock and go most of the time. They don't play a 5th year. So I wanted to check with LSU what they had heard. I wanted to check with Florida, and I did. Surprise, surprise, here were what I heard. And you could predict this. LSU told me we feel pretty good about it. We think that he wants to play college baseball another year. Okay, what does Florida think? I check with Florida. Yeah, that seems like a leverage play. If he stays at Florida, you can't really tell if he's serious or not. If you decide to commit to LSU, that shows you're turning over a new leaf. You're committed to college baseball. You might pry a few more dollars out of the MLB teams and start your professional clock. I was even told by the Florida side yesterday that they would not be surprised if he signed an undrafted free agent contract if he wasn't drafted in the 20-round draft, which I would have a hard time believing. I think you're going to get drafted in a 20-round draft as a guy who can essentially, is a guy who can sign for relatively cheap. So I checked on both spots. LSU said we feel good about it. Florida said he's going to sign. Shocking. That serves both parties' interests, right? So I didn't really know. But I was prepared to get on here and say just the tea leaves on this. I've certainly never talked to Cade Curlin. The tea leaves on this would suggest unlikely to get to campus. Not impossible, but unlikely. Well, Joe Doyle just reported that Cade Curlin has withdrawn from the MLB draft. He's not even eligible for this draft. Now, this is something we've talked about. Is that possible? Is it not? It is possible. William Schmidt did it, and Derek Curiel said he did it. Steven Milam said he did it. He came on this show and said he did it. And so what you now have between those two guys, I just ran these numbers right before the show. Between Cade Curlin and Steven Milam, which is likely your middle infield in 2027 at this point, they have a combined 73 home runs. Curlin has 43. Milam has 30. 1,400 career at-bats, all as a member of Southeastern Conference teams. Not like he played 3 years in the Sun Belt and 1 for 10. No. Curlin's been at Florida for 4 years. Milam's been at LSU for 3 years. 1,400 at-bats as SEC players. 382 games between the two of them. That is your middle infield. And Cade Curlin, by the way, has played the last 2 seasons. Let me make sure I have this number right. I believe it's 5 errors between the 2 seasons at second base. But I wrote it at LouisianaSports.net. Let me click it and check. So defensively, that's wrong. 2 errors in his last 60 games as a second baseman. So you've got experienced guys, both in their 4th and 5th year, 9 years of combined experience when they play next year. Incredible defenders, powerful bats. This is as good a middle infield as you could hope for. I believe this makes Dawson Park's insertion into the lineup likely at third base. I know he's got plenty of arm to play third base. He's plenty twitchy enough to play third base. Yes, John Pearson is in that mix. Yes, Jack Ruckert is in that mix. Yes, there are really good freshmen that are potentially coming into this class. But you're building a foundation for this 2027 roster that is really, really solid. And those middle infielders are about as good as it gets in college baseball. It's just a huge, huge deal for LSU. You look back at what this lineup looked like 10 days ago with no Dawson Park, with no Bino Waters, with no Steven Milam, with no Cade Curlin. It had a lot of question marks. Now, you had plenty of time to fill them. There was certainly nothing like panic, but you had a lot of question marks. The question marks are really drying up at this point. I got Cade Arambidi and Omar Cerna splitting time between catcher and DH, Mason Braun at first, Cade Curlin at second, Steven Milam at shortstop, Dawson Park at third, Bino Waters in left, and William Patrick in center, either or right. You're missing an outfielder. You figure you're going to get a freshman that comes in there to compete, and you can go into the transfer portal as well. You still got walks out there from Tulane that LSU is courting, I know. We'll see what the credit card looks like at this point. They're running up the bill pretty strong, but that's what they got to do, and that's what is going to help you compete for championships. And right now, this offense looks really, really deep and strong. The pitching staff, I've got my worries. The offense, those worries are starting to dry up with a quickness. Steven Milam and Cade Curlin withdrawing from the NFL draft. They won't be in that either. The MLB draft, they should form LSU's middle infield in 2027. Big news over the last 3 hours in Baton Rouge for LSU and Jay Johnson. Exciting stuff. We'll get you caught up on the College World Series here in 30 minutes, 15 minutes. Make it. Peter Burns is up there in Omaha. When we come back, let's talk some football with Preston Guy. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Boudreaux's Electrical Services. It is storm season. I told y'all this. I guess it's like the 3-year anniversary. Paul Skeens was about to take them out against Tennessee. We had a storm come through Baton Rouge, and my power went out. And I could not watch Paul Skeens against Tennessee because my television did not work with no power because I didn't have a generator. So where'd I end up? At my wife's friend's parents' house. I love the Donahues. They're great. Did I necessarily want to watch the game at their house? Not the ideal circumstance. Don't be a Hunt Palmer. Be better than that. Get a Generac home standby generator from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical Services so that when those afternoon thunderstorms come through, when that hurricane comes through, your power goes out, boom, that Generac generator powers on, and you are good to go. Give them a call at 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562. They are the local option, wonderful customer service. They'll monitor your generator 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're online at boudreauxelectrical.com. That's Boudreaux's Electrical Services.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
They're underway up in Omaha, Nebraska, Troy and West Virginia in the first game of the day and the first game of the tournament. And West Virginia just hit a 4-hopper to the second baseman of Troy, who just flat whiffed it. I think things might be moving quickly for the Trojans up there in Omaha. I expect West Virginia to win that game. But we'll see. We'll keep you updated on it. It's the first game today. I am going to be locked in tonight for North Carolina and Ole Miss, which should be a fantastic ball game from Charles Schwab Field. We'll go to Omaha in about 15 minutes to chat with Peter Burns from the SEC Network. Right now, let's talk some LSU football. We do it every single Friday with our guy Preston Guy, TigerBait.com. He joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Preston, how are you?
All right, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
It's going quite well. Since we last spoke, a flurry of commitments to the LSU football program from the high school ranks. I'm curious what stood out amongst all that. Obviously, the Jaden Bryant news kind of facilitated all the buzz, and LSU filled that need pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'll say this about the Jaden Bryant situation. It was interesting to see a recruit tweet out, it's go Tigers,
yeah,
or whatever he tweeted out. And then 4 hours later, not 4 days later, 4 hours later, he's flipping to Miami and shutting down his official visit. So it's done. So very interesting, fun situation. Just kind of let you know how fast a lot of the stuff moves behind the scenes. I think we all know that money and agents is a huge part of what's going on. I don't think very many people are naive enough anymore to think, well, this is all emotionals and, relationships and all that. It's not. No. When you go from publicly cheering for one team to flipping to another in 4 hours, it's more than just relationships and emotions and where you feel like you fit best. That being said, LSU turns around and lands a official visit from 5-star edge rusher, same position, KJ Green, and does a very good job closing up on him. I don't think that's mere coincidence. I think they used those dollars they had tied in with Jaden Bryant and were able to shift those to KJ Green pretty quickly. So good bounce back. LSU's back up to 2 5-stars in this class.
No doubt. And so I'm curious, just as you follow recruiting on the day-to-day, especially this time of year where there's a lot of camps, a lot of visits happening, and some commitments flying around, when you see a big-time decommitment like that at LSU or elsewhere, do you feel like, okay, they're about to get a commitment from somewhere else because they're going to shuffle the funds?
Well, in this day and age, you kind of have to make a little bit of an assumption there because, well, where are those dollars going to go, right? Unless it's really late in the process, there's going to be a kid out there who's going to want those dollars you had tied into that kid, right? That being said, I'm never the one who's like, oh, well, you're a 5-star decommit. It's not that big of a deal because you're going to get this guy. Or, it's not a big deal because, he wasn't that good anyways. Like, it's always a big deal to lose a kid who's a 5-star kid. It's just also a big deal to pick up a kid who is a 5-star kid. So it is it's a very interesting day and age where none of us can pretend that, it's actually about we can't all pretend it's only about where the kid actually wants to go play football,
Yeah, so let's go to the other 5-star in the class because he did visit Lincoln, Nebraska. It's Ahmad Hudson, of course, an LSU legacy on the basketball side from Ruston. So all the signs would point to LSU there, but there was some internet trepidation about Hudson's visit to Lincoln. How do you feel about where LSU stands there? Certainly they have his commitment right now.
Yeah, I've spoken to people close to the situation, and even while he was in Nebraska, there was a high amount of confidence. Like, it's hard to fault a kid to say, hey, I'm going to take my official visits because, I get a free trip to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And, if God knows what happens to any school, it's always smart to have backup options and relationships lined up. Heaven forbid a coach gets fired or, any of the other thousands of things that can happen to a program that might not make them a good fit anymore. So I think it's just a smart decision. Now, if I were a 5-star recruit, I would probably be lining up official visits to like Hawaii instead of Lincoln, Nebraska. But that's just me, my style. But no, not too worried about it. And the fact that he's coming to LSU next weekend for his official visit, that gives them even higher amounts of confidence in that situation. So I wouldn't hit the panic button on that one at all, guys.
Peyton Houston was in town over the weekend participating in some 7-on-7 action. I know you were out there on campus to watch a little bit of it. Give me what you saw.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and plug my content here. We actually put all 4 games I filmed on the YouTube channel for free.
Nice.
Rare free video out there. That one has blown up. Peyton Houston is an impressive young man. I would be remiss if I didn't take a minute or two to just talk about this young man who, if he had a 6 in front of his height, he would be a 5-star player. I have people I've spoken to who actually evaluate quarterbacks for a living who say if he had a 6 in front of his name, he'd be the number 1 player in the country. I've had other people tell me that it's between him and the kid committed to Nebraska, Trey Traylor, as who would be the best quarterback in the country. And understand, this is a guy who's got a realistic chance to break the LHSAA total yardage mark this year. Certainly a chance to break the Evangel record held by Brock Berlin that Jawan Johnson broke a few years ago. He's had a prolific career, and I noticed how much he physically developed, okay? Now, I covered him a year ago. He was at the same camp. I thought I towered over him. He was a good 5'10", if even, right? He's every bit of 5'11" right now, which is not super tall by any stretch, but he's got long arms, and he's developed muscular. He's got a build that kind of reminds me of completely different comparison here, but Tyrann Mathieu, when he was in high school, he had long arms. Like, he didn't walk and carry himself like a short player. He felt bigger, and that's what you see out of Peyton Houston, and he absolutely tore it up, went undefeated in the 7-on-7 portion, reads the field well, has a pretty strong arm. He reminds me a lot of a Russell Wilson, where he's got a lot of mobility, reads the field very well, very smart, and can throw the ball well. Look, he is going to be a guy who probably will contend to be top 5 quarterbacks in the ratings. I believe if he were 6 foot, he'd easily be 5 stars. I don't know if they're going to give him 5 stars just because the height is a real knock on him. The measurables just simply aren't there like they are other kids. But that's it. That is your only knock. You can't say he's not accurate. He won elite every most accurate quarterback. I am very I very much so approve of the way LSU went about handling their quarterback situation in this recruiting class, because it was not an easy decision to navigate.
So let's talk about something we just can't know, but I'm curious your opinion on it. Like, you've got Sam Leavitt, who we imagine will be a 1 into the NFL. He certainly has 2 years of eligibility remaining if he wants to use them. And then you've got 2 guys behind him that have plenty of eligibility remaining. Houston Longstreet has 4 years left. So where does Houston sit in this pecking order? And, like, what do you see as the future of LSU at quarterback? I realize how volatile that position is, but, like, that Peyton Houston feels like a long way from the field right now. Now, he's still got a year of high school to play, but, like, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, the funny thing about this conversation, Hunt, is we're both setting ourselves up to look really dumb 12 months from now. Because what were we talking about 12 months ago? A bunch of guys who are no longer on your roster.
Correct.
We were talking about Bryce Underwood versus Michael Van Buren for that spot, Anyhow, all that to say, I think Peyton Houston, I don't know if he's going to be a year 1 guy, but I have talked to people where it's like, yeah, if you have to plug him in year 1, he's polished. That's one of the things about a lot of high school quarterbacks. They'll have the arm strength. They'll have all this and that. He plays in a very pro-style, pass-friendly offense. I think he could go out there and put up some serviceable numbers and not look like a deer in headlights year 1. That being said, that doesn't mean he's going to beat out those guys. I very much so see Sam Leavitt the way, let's put it like this, the money you're Sam Levitt, that's a one-and-done guy, right? He should be in and out and gone, and that's that. There's going to be no court injunction trying to get him up, 10th year of eligibility or whatever, right? If it goes as planned. So you would think Tucson Longstreet is there, right? He'll be in his third year. I really do think that next year, Tucson Longstreet is probably your quarterback, or at least the most likely of anybody out there, right?
Yeah.
And then he would be very much so competing with Landon Clark, and I think that he would push Landon Clark pretty tight. Even though I'm high on Landon Clark, I like where that battle for that backup QB position would be. Regardless, I mean, I think that I don't think they're bringing in Pop Houston as a one-year arm, and I don't think Pop Houston wants to come here as a one-year arm. I asked him, I did an interview at 7-on-7. I said, so if it doesn't work out for LSU, is there any backup plan? Are you visiting any of those schools? He goes, no, sir, it's LSU or bust. So, that kind of shows you at least there's some sincerity in him wanting to stick around and earn it at LSU.
He's been committed through 2 staff, so that checks out there. Preston Guy with us, tigerbait.com is where you can find all of his work. He's with us every single Friday. Preston, have a great weekend.
All right, thanks for having me.
It is our pleasure. West Virginia just stole home in the first inning of the College World Series. It was sick. The Troy pitcher was left-handed, had his back to third base, went into the windup, fired home, and the West Virginia runner from third base swiped home for the first run of the College World Series. It's 1-0 Mountaineers after an inning. Let's go to Omaha, Nebraska, talk to Peter Burns next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Lifetime Roofing, lifetimeroofingla.com. Lifetimeroofingla.com is that website. Look, you can't get a lifetime workmanship warranty just anywhere in the roofing game. There aren't many places you can get a lifetime workmanship warranty, but you can get one from the folks at Lifetime Roofing. As of January 1st, they are thrilled to offer a lifetime workmanship warranty, which, 1, covers the craftsmanship, 2, covers the materials that are backed by CertainTeed, one of the oldest and most trusted names in building materials. So if you need a new roof, whether you're filing a claim with your insurance or you just need one retail, maybe you're selling your home or you just have an old roof you don't trust during storm season, Lifetime Roofing is happy to come out and do an inspection, do a repair, do a tune-up, and they can handle a new roof as well. If you're concerned about payments, they've got financing plans available, 0% for 18 months. If you qualify, you can also finance your deductible if that's sizable as well. It's a lifetime workmanship warranty. It's from the folks at Lifetime Roofing, a Baton Rouge-based roofer that can help you in South Louisiana into the Houston area as well. Lifetime Roofing, find them online, lifetimeroofingla.com.
Could you whisper in my ear the things you want to feel? I'll give you anything.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Greatest show on dirt. It is underway. West Virginia and Troy, game 1 of the action. Tonight, Ole Miss and North Carolina should be a classic. Tomorrow, got all SEC action. Oklahoma and Bama in the afternoon, and then the evening game should be the headliner, Georgia and Texas. Bummed I'm not there, but we might as well do the next best thing and go up to Omaha, Nebraska. Peter Burns, SEC Network, is there. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Peter, thanks for the time. How's it going?
I just had to walk outside of Rocco's, a place in which LSU fans are vastly familiar with.
Yes.
So, so thank you for saving that because actually as soon as I walked in, like one of my liver, like my kidneys started shutting down, just like memories of last year in 23.
I love to hear it. I was there for both. We like that. Also a convenient location. See any LSU fans around? Any purple and gold still floating even though the Tigers aren't there?
That was my favorite thing when I first started working for SEC Network is I would come up here and the amount of LSU fans that over the years have just turned this into their summer vacation, regardless of whether or not the Tigers are there or not. Oh, yeah. So I've seen enough Mardi Gras beads and some LSU fans. And trust me, the other Ole Miss fans and everybody else, they're enjoying that. But, man, it's you know how it is. Dude, Omaha is one of the very few places that are still pretty special and feel like college sports actually still has a little bit of a soul to it.
It absolutely does. Is there a spot that you always go back to annually for a steak or for a cold drink or something that you always got to get to?
I mean, all of them. The Blat's pretty cool here.
Yeah.
I mean, Rocco's obviously just because of the memories that I have. I mean, I love going to, up next to the old Rosenblatt, there's a little baseball card shop called Stadium View, which is amazing. In fact, Herb Vincent from, former LSU SID was texting me earlier saying I got to get my ass over there. So I'll be headed over there later today. And, man, it's just, the drover. I mean, again, even if you've never had an opportunity to do it, it's one of those bucket list things where everybody knows what you're talking about. Like if you say Augusta, everybody knows.
Yeah.
If you say even Hoover in our world, everybody knows it's SEC baseball. But Omaha just becomes synonymous with a hell of a good time.
Absolutely. And you'll be a busy guy this time around. 5 SEC teams have made the trip. Just 2 last year, and LSU and Arkansas were playing each other a lot of the time, so it wasn't quite as spread out. But there will be 5 teams in action. It'll start with Ole Miss tonight. I've been very public with this. I think the way they're playing with their 3 starting pitchers, their closer and Hooks, and the way their offense is kind of clicking, I'm picking them to win the whole thing. How do you feel about this Rebels team as they descend on Nebraska?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great pick because they remind me almost identical of the team that they were in 2022, right? They had to win on the road in regionals and super regionals, and a team that had a lot of talent, but finally kind of started putting it together. I mean, they were 9-15 in road games, and now all of a sudden they go 5-0, and they're starting to play it. So, they're going to throw Taylor Rabe in their first opener against North Carolina's ace. So, you know how it is on these things. You have to win game 1. Yeah. 40 of the last 44 champions here in Omaha won game 1. And if you don't, you put yourself behind the 8 ball. So, I think they're as live as anybody. And then the game tomorrow between Texas and Georgia is just, it's ridiculous. No offense to Alabama and OU. That's going to be a great matchup, but that thing feels like a heavyweight battle.
No doubt. Let's talk about it because in 23, when we were there, the wind did blow out a little bit. LSU and Florida were hitting balls out of the ballpark with a lot of regularity. Last year, I was there for 2 weeks. It blew in the whole time. Jared Jones was the only LSU Tiger to hit a home run, and they won the national title. If the wind blows out, I know what Georgia's offense looks like. What if the wind shifts and it blows in? How do you feel about Wes Johnson's offense at that point?
Yeah, I asked that question to, a couple of the guys yesterday, including Trey Phelps and Daniel Jackson, and they said, listen, just because we can hit the ball out of the ballpark doesn't mean we can't hit it anywhere else too. So it's not a, feast or famine, Aaron Judge type, at bat form. And they're still live. But I do think the speed of Texas and just the amount of talent they have on in their whole bullpen. The pitching right now clearly favors, I think, Texas. They got 2 really good starters, and then, Sam Coatsard coming in as an actual true reliever right now. So I kind of give them the benefit of the doubt because they can win in a multiple different ways. No doubt.
I haven't seen this. I don't know if Jim Schlossnagle announced it yesterday and I just missed it. Is Dylan Volantis getting the ball for Texas tomorrow? Do you know the answer to that?
If he's not, he's an idiot because, Volantis has been that dude. So I would imagine we'll get that, and Joey Volchko will be the 2 aces for those guys. And then, the thing is that Texas probably has 4 or 5 guys that are legit arms. I think Georgia mostly has 2. So that's why it feels like the winner of that Texas-Georgia game, I know everybody's like, oh, you need to make a pick. And I'm like, I can't pick. It's the winner of Texas-Georgia, I think, has such a huge advantage on everybody else over the field. It
very much feels like last year when Cade Anderson and Zach Root went at each other in that first game on Saturday. And LSU knocked Root out in the second inning. Anderson was great, and LSU was set up to win the whole thing, and they went on and did it. Same kind of vibes there. We didn't mention Alabama and Oklahoma. I still can't tell if either one of those teams is really good. The evidence would suggest they probably are there in Omaha. How do you feel about those 2 teams' chances?
They're legit, the little Spider-Man meme, pointing at each other, right? The colors are the same, and they're both teams that didn't, actually, really tear the cover off the ball during the regular season. I think they were, 12th and 14th in runs scored, and now all of a sudden they found pop in their bat. Both of them averaging over 8 runs a game in NCAA tournaments. So now I think part of that is kind of who they ended ultimately playing, but they're coming in playing well. I give a little bit more of the nod to Alabama. I think between Zach Evans and of course, the way Tyler Fay has been throwing, I think their arms are a little better. And I just like the vibe that Rob Vaughn had brought. You think about a couple of years ago, we got the whole Brad Bohannon thing where he's gambling on the games and stuff. And now you get Vaughn in here. It's just, you get the right guys. And then now it's not going to get any easier with Kevin Schnall going from Coastal Carolina to South Carolina. This is just a freaking murderer's row of SEC and collegiate baseball.
It is that. LSU, of course, not there this week. That bums us out. But I don't know if you've caught the news of the last hour and a half up there with all the things that are going on in Omaha. Steven Milam withdrawing from the MLB draft. He'll be LSU's shortstop next season. And Cade Kurland has done the same thing. The Florida transfer is not going to enter the MLB draft either. Those will probably be your shortstop and second baseman next year. What does that mean for LSU?
And again, it means that Jay's coming in here and he's pissed off about what happened. And
that's correct.
I mean, that's great. Like there's a few things that I'm afraid of in life. Like one would probably be Jay Johnson not being happy and being dialed in, and that's what should scare the hell out of everybody right now. So the fact that Monster comes back is huge. You get Cade that can swing it, and then again, it comes down to it. You got to have two arms. I mean, you go back to days of like Poche and Lang, or having, just two guys that can be your Friday night and Saturday night guys and some type of pin. And I know they had injury issues, but and kind of whiffed on a couple of guys. But I mean, again, I don't know any more of a person I would trust in college baseball than Jay Johnson to get that fixed.
Well, Peter, y'all do a ton of awesome stuff at the SEC Network, from a billion hours on SEC Media Days and covering the college football playoff and everything. But I enjoy nothing more that y'all do than your coverage in Hoover of SEC baseball, and then, of course, in Omaha. You'll be a busy guy this week. I know Dari will come in as well. But keep up the great work. We'll be watching. Hopefully, we'll be back there next year.
I mean, think about it. We get DeLucci, who almost was good enough for a play for LSU. I'm joking. Todd Walker, Ben McDonald, myself, and Jared Mitchell has done an awesome job this year with us on the coverage as well too. So trust me, we got the 225 locked in for our coverage of college baseball. And that means the world to me, man. Yeah,
Jay Mitch, former most outstanding player of the College World Series. He's pretty decorated up there in Omaha. Enjoy a steak, maybe a cold drink, get some great work in. We'll be watching. Thanks, Peter.
I'm gonna have 11 cocktails later.
Love it. That's Peter Burns, SEC Network. I've been on that train with 11 cocktails in Omaha, Nebraska. Alondra, do you have any comment on that? Have you partaked at all?
Last year I got to partake in it. You basically lived in Omaha for 2 weeks. That was crazy.
I was talking to my wife this morning. I decided when LSU didn't make the NCAA baseball tournament that I was going to go really hard on dieting in June, and I've dropped 12 pounds in 2 weeks. It's a lot easier to eat and drink a little cleaner when you don't live in a sports bar, which I did for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Wasn't it also a casino?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't place any bets until the last night when I lost $100 at blackjack, but I didn't care because we'd already won the national championship. That's true.
Yeah.
But I did. I lived in a sports bar. I finished the show. It was 3:00 in the afternoon. The bar was 5 steps this way. The French dips and cheeseburgers and French fries were 5 steps that way. It was a disaster. It was a disaster health-wise. It was the greatest disaster. I hope I have another disaster next summer, but I figured I could be a little bit cleaner this time around. I'm making no such plans for next year.
No, not to be healthy, no.
No.
But I'm making plans to be in Omaha.
As am I. Looking forward to that. Let me tell you about One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Safety is a big, big deal in the bathroom, especially as folks age. If there's somebody in your life who is aging that you think may need some help around the bathrooms, do what you can to mitigate against that risk. Put in non-slip floors, guardrails in slippery places. You can put in a walk-in tub for comfort and convenience. You can also do a shower with a bench in it. David does that kind of stuff all the time. If you're not sure exactly what you need, have that free consultation. You can get that at onebathandclosets.com. Financing options are available, 0% up to 18 months if you qualify for it. David's been at it for 40 years. Let someone licensed, bonded, and insured make it happen for you. It's One Bath and Closets. You can find them online at onebathandclosets.com. Still 1-1 up in Omaha. Troy and West Virginia playing on in the bottom of the second inning. West Virginia has a couple on and nobody out. Looks like a gorgeous day there in Omaha. I still don't have a report on what the wind is doing. I'll figure that out probably once I get off the air, but that's going to be massive in this tournament. I've talked about it for 2 days. Now that I've gotten a lot of experience in Omaha over the last 3 years in that stadium, I know what it's going to play like, and I know what teams are looking for with the weather. And these teams are hitting the ball low and hard. They're hitting a lot of line drives. West Virginia stole home in the first inning, so they're playing some small ball, but I'm not sure if the ball's flying or not. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. That doesn't matter a lot tomorrow night when Georgia and Texas go at it, but I'll get you a thumbnail on that if we can get a look at the flags there on the television broadcast. We'll come back and close out the hour next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
I love telling you about my friends over at Ochsner. All May long, they were telling you about Stroke Awareness Month. and giving you all of those signs to look for. This month of June here in the summer, they're just telling you that whether you're an athlete or just trying to stay active, Oxner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute can help you get moving, and they can help you keep moving. You've got access through Oxner to the highest level of specialized care. They've got nationally renowned expertise on staff, the latest equipment and modern facilities, and that includes a convenient walk-in orthopedic clinic there at Elite Training Complex on Burbank. If you're driving down Burbank and look off to the side, you'll see the big football field with the uprights. That's Elite, and they've got a walk-in clinic right there for you. So if you've got sprains, strains, minor dislocations, go on in. They've got on-site x-rays, and they can treat minor injuries. It's all there at Oxner. You can find them online at oxner.org/brortho. That's oxner.org/brortho.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Let me tell you about my friends at Gotros Outdoor Power. They're online at gotrosonline.com, gotrosonline.com. Their deals right now on their Hustler series are fantastic throughout the month of June. We're about halfway through June, so if you haven't gotten in there, start thinking about making your trek over to one of the two locations they've got on Airline Highway and, of course, over in Gonzales as well. They've got fantastic deals on what is the largest Hustler inventory in the state of Louisiana. And through June, the deals are awesome. You're talking about the Raptor Series, $200 off. The Fast Track Series, $500 off. And their Hustler commercial mowers, up to $1,500 off. You can get those deals throughout the month. You can also stop in next week, starting on the 15th, and you can get no sales tax on their in-stock units. So go by and see them, Airline Highway in Baton Rouge, and, of course, in Gonzales as well. Great deals on zero-turn mowers. That grass is growing this time of year. It's not going to stop until after Halloween. So if you need a new zero-turn mower, no better spot to go for that local customer service than Gotros Outdoor Power. They're online at gotrosonline.com. I was thinking about this to close up the hour. My buddies were texting, and I was checking Twitter this morning at like 5:45 after my run, and I saw that USA was playing Paraguay in the World Cup tonight. And I fully support everyone grinding the World Cup and getting really excited about it. It's every 4 years. That's a big deal. It's the biggest sporting event in the world. You got people from all over the world that are in America. You got people at Waffle House. I get the whole deal. I found out we were playing Paraguay this morning, and I'm going to watch Ole Miss and in North Carolina tonight. And my friends just blasted me for this. Like, how could you possibly watch college baseball instead of the World Cup? And it's like, I just don't care about the World Cup. I'm not saying you shouldn't care about the World Cup. It's not for me. There's a lot of people who would say the College World Series is not for them. I think that's fine too. What I was noticing is that in this day and age where you stream the things you want to watch, you curate your own podcast, you control your social media, what you click on, the algorithm feeds you. And I've been listening to College World Series preview podcasts, and I know who the starting pitchers are for a lot of these teams that are coming up, and I've got the paths to the championship series, and I know when the games are, what times, and who's playing, and all that kind of stuff. And like, I don't know anything about the World Cup, like not a single thing. And I think in a bygone time, like 15 years ago when I was in college, like I would have just been watching SportsCenter, and SportsCenter would have been talking about the World Cup a lot, and I'd have probably had it on. I'd have probably learned some things, but I don't ever watch that anymore because, one, my TV's on Blippy or Spidey or Bluey or Monster Trucks 85% of the time, and two, like I'm curating all the things that I want to pay attention to. It's just stunning to me how little I know about the World Cup. I have no clue when Team USA's next game is. I have no clue. I think it's 4 teams that are in their group. I don't even know what time the game is tonight or what channel it's on. And that's like, it's just bizarre how much you can get in your own bubble. Like, are you going to watch World Cup tonight?
I'm not, but the game's at 8 p.m.
8 o'clock? So first of all, baseball is at 6. And if North Carolina gets behind, if Ole Miss gets up like 6-1, I'm probably going to turn it off. And so that would probably mean I'll head over to the World Cup. Unless Alyssa wants to put on Friends and Neighbors, in which case I'll watch that, which is really going a little bit sideways if we're being honest. But like, I don't care that much about the World Cup. I find soccer doesn't do anything for me. It does a lot of stuff for a lot of people. That's great. But Hanny said something this week that really irked me. This is another thing altogether. Somebody did a ranking of the top 100 players in the World Cup, and we don't have one. Can you think of another athletic competition in the world where America doesn't have a top 100 competitor?
No.
100.
100's a lot.
How is that possible?
Now, to be fair, there's a lot of countries.
and I'm going to be like simp American dude here that doesn't pay attention to soccer right here with this comment. I'm confident there's not a single dude that plays in the entire World Cup that looks like Saquon Barkley. Like, we got way better athletes than all those guys. And we don't have a single top 100 player? Come on. You're telling me one of those dudes in the World Cup looks like Derrick Rose in his prime or Russell Westbrook? There's no shot. We should destroy these people in athletic competitions. And we don't have a top 100 player. That means we just clearly don't take this serious. Right?
No, I agree 100%.
Tell me one of these dudes from France looks like Saquon Barkley.
Mbappe.
Does he?
I don't know what you're implying. Okay, I don't know what you're implying with this.
He's 6 foot, 220, runs a 4.25, cuts on a dime, can squat 1 billion pounds. He's more athletic than every dude in the World Cup. And we don't have a 1 top 100 player.
Not one.
We're not even trying. Why do we even enter this then? We have a top 100 in everything. Watch the Olympics. We're the best at everything.
Cricket?
Yeah, I'm sure we're awesome at it. Probably not. But we just let Aaron Judge play cricket. He's better than all those guys. Just give him the paddle. Do you think any of those guys in the World Cup look like LeBron James?
No, but also, like, nobody here cares about soccer that much.
It's clearly the deal. But I'm stunned we can't have a top 100 soccer player. Not only do we have endless resources for sports development, we also have way more people than everybody.
And with soccer, you just need grass and a ball.
Yeah. The thing that got me, and this is the end of the hour here, is we lost some like World Cup qualifier a few years ago, like probably 10 years ago, 8 years, to some country. And somebody tweeted out on my feed, this did enter my algorithm, we just lost to a team that has the population of Corpus Christi, Texas.
Oh, no.
You hate to see that. That's hour one. It's in the books. You missed any, catch it on demand. We're back to close out the week after SportsCenter with hour number 2.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC, FabryChevrolet.com, FabryChevrolet.com. The entire inventory is online at FabryChevrolet.com. Look, the Fabry family has been at this in Baton Rouge for 35 years. How do you stay in business for 35 years? Because you take care of your customers, because you prioritize customer service. That's what the Fabrys are going to do. Most people have had an unpleasant experience at a car dealership. You felt like the salesperson was pushy. You felt like you were being taken advantage of. You felt like they were trying to be aggressive, and you just didn't feel comfortable. That's not going to happen at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. If you're looking for a new vehicle, if you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle, they've got them there on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. Maybe you got a new SUV on your eye because you got that new family vacation coming up and you got to pile all the kids into the car. You're headed to the beach, you're heading up to the mountains, you're headed to Grandma and Grandpa's house, whatever the case is. You need a new SUV, you need a used SUV. They've got them at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Go by and see them on Highway 61 in St. Francisville.